The massive space station hung in the darkness like a glowing jewel. It was bigger than most moons and sparkled with millions of lights from its many levels. This was the home of the Galactic Council, the most powerful group in the known universe. Today, something important was happening inside its great halls. Admiral Zexathara walked through the long corridors with heavy steps. His thick armor made loud sounds on the metal floor. He was from the Vorthan Empire, a race of warriors who had ruled space battles for over 1,000 years. His people looked like giant insects with hard shells covering their bodies. Their eyes were black and cold, and their mouths had sharp teeth that could bite through steel. The Admiral was not happy. For weeks now, the Council had been getting strange messages from a new race. They called themselves humans, and they came from a small system called Sol. These humans wanted to talk about trade and peace. They wanted to join the galaxy as friends. This made Admiral Zexathara laugh. Humans were nothing. Their ships were tiny and slow. They used old fusion engines that barely worked. The Admiral had seen the reports. Human ships were only a few hundred meters long. His own flagship was 50,000 meters long and could destroy planets. He entered the Great Council chamber. The room was huge, with a dome ceiling that showed the stars outside. 12 different alien races sat around a circle. Each race had ruled parts of the galaxy for thousands of years. They were the masters of space, and they knew it. The crystalline being sat to his left. They looked like walking diamonds that made beautiful sounds when they talked. Their ships were made of living crystal that could fix itself when damaged. They had been mining asteroids and building star cities since before humans learned to make fire. Across from them sat the Psionic Confederation. These aliens had no bodies. They were pure mind energy that glowed with purple light. They could read thoughts from across star systems and move objects with their minds alone. To them, humans were like deaf and blind animals. The Aquatic Union had sent their representative in a water tank. The fish-like being floated inside, its gills moving slowly. Their people lived in the deep oceans of water worlds and had ships that could dive through space like swimming through water. They thought air-breathing races were weak and stupid. Admiral Zexathara took his seat at the war table. His voice was deep and rough when he spoke. "My fellow council members, we are here to discuss the human problem. These new creatures have been sending us messages for 3 months. They want to trade with us. They want to be our equals." Several aliens made sounds that meant laughter in their languages. The crystalline being rang like a bell. The psionic creature flashed bright purple. Even the fish thing in its tank made bubbling sounds. "Equals?" said the reptilian delegate. His people looked like giant lizards with 4 arms. "We have seen their ships. They are toys compared to our fleets. One of our destroyers could sink their entire space force. Their technology is from the Stone Age," added the Machine Collective representative. This one was a robot made of silver metal with glowing red eyes. They still use chemical rockets to leave their planet. They have no shields, no energy weapons, no faster-than-light communication. They are cave dwellers who learned to fly. Admiral Zexathara nodded his large head. "Yes, but they keep sending messages. They act like they belong here with us. They do not understand their place." The council chamber fell quiet. Outside the windows, they could see the great war fleets of 12 races. Millions of ships floated in perfect formations around the station. Each ship was a masterpiece of death and destruction. Some could crack moons in half, others could boil the oceans of entire worlds. The hive mind delegate spoke next. This creature looked like a giant ant with 6 arms and wings. Behind it stood dozens of smaller ants that all shared the same thoughts. The humans have no hive structure. Each one thinks for itself. This makes them weak and confused. They cannot work together like a proper species should. They fight among themselves even now. "I have studied their history," said the energy being from the Plasma Empire. This alien was made of living fire that changed colors as it talked. They have had over 200 wars on their home planet. They kill each other for pieces of land smaller than our garbage dumps. They are violent and stupid. Admiral Zexathara stood up. His armor caught the light and gleamed like black metal. Then, We are all agreed. These humans need to learn respect. They need to understand who rules this galaxy. He activated a hologram in the center of the room. It showed the Sol system with its small yellow star and 9 planets. Earth looked tiny and blue, like a marble floating in the dark. I propose we send them a message they will understand. We give them a choice. They can become our servants, our slaves, our pets, or they can be destroyed. Simple and clean. The other aliens made sounds of agreement. The crystalline beings chimed like music. The robot's eyes flashed brighter. The fish creature swam in excited circles. "How long do we give them to answer?" asked the Void Walker. This alien was so strange that looking at it hurt the eyes. It seemed to be made of living darkness with stars for eyes. 3 days, said Admiral Zexathara. That is more time than they deserve. If they say no, we gather our fleets and show them what real power looks like. The council voted. It was unanimous. Every race agreed that humans needed to be taught a lesson. They would send the ultimatum immediately. As the meeting ended, Admiral Zexathara felt proud. Soon, another primitive race would bow before the council's might. The humans would join the thousands of other species that served as workers and slaves throughout the galaxy. He had no idea that everything was about to change. The message was sent within the hour. It traveled through space faster than light, carried by quantum transmitters that could reach across the galaxy in seconds. The words were simple and clear. To the human species of Sol system, you will submit to the authority of the Galactic Council. You will surrender your weapons and your independence. You will serve us as we command. You have 72 hours to agree. If you refuse, your species will be eliminated. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact. Choose wisely. The council members went back to their quarters, satisfied with their work. They began planning the victory celebration that would follow humanity's surrender. None of them imagined that humans might say no. None of them imagined what would happen if they did. The message from the Galactic Council arrived on Earth during the middle of the night. The quantum receiver buried deep under the Swiss mountains began flashing red warning lights. Computer screens filled with alien symbols that slowly translated into human language. Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen was sleeping in her quarters when the emergency alarm woke her up. She had been expecting this day for 5 years, ever since Earth's deep space sensors first detected alien ships watching them from the outer solar system. She got dressed quickly and walked through the underground tunnels to the command center. The United Earth Defense Command was built inside a mountain for good reasons. If aliens decided to attack Earth from space, this place would be one of the last to fall. The walls were made of the strongest materials humans could make. The computers were shielded against every type of weapon they could imagine. Admiral Chen entered the main control room. Dozens of officers from different countries worked at their stations. The room was quiet, except for the soft humming of machines. Everyone knew something big was happening. General Martinez from the Space Marines stood up when she entered. He was a big man with scars on his face from old battles. Next to him stood Admiral Petrov from the Russian Space Fleet. His gray hair and serious eyes showed he had seen many wars. "Admiral," said General Martinez, "the message came in 20 minutes ago. You need to read this." Admiral Chen took the printed paper and read it slowly. Her face did not change as she read the alien words. The Council was giving humanity 3 choices: become slaves, become servants, or die. They had 72 hours to decide. "Well," she said quietly, "they certainly get to the point." "This is an insult," said Admiral Petrov, hitting his fist on the table. "They treat us like animals, like we are nothing." "What are our options?" asked General Martinez. "Our fleets are spread across the solar system. We have maybe 300 ships total. The intelligence reports say they have thousands." Admiral Chen walked to the big window that looked out over the command center. Below them, hundreds of people worked at computer stations. These were Earth's best scientists, engineers, and military officers. They had been preparing for this moment for years. "Gentlemen," she said, "let me tell you something about humans. We do not kneel to anyone, not to kings, not to gods, and certainly not to aliens who think they own the galaxy. She turned back to face them. Her eyes were hard and cold. 5 years ago, when we first detected their scout ships, I started a special project. We called it Project Prometheus. We knew this day would come. We knew they would underestimate us. General Martinez looked confused. Admiral, what kind of project? I have clearance for everything we do here. Admiral Chen smiled for the first time since reading the message. No, General, you do not. Only 5 people on Earth know about Prometheus. The President, myself, and 3 scientists. Everyone else thinks we have been building normal space. Ships. She walked to a secure computer terminal and entered a long password. The screen showed files marked with the highest security level. Pictures appeared of something that looked like a ship, but unlike any ship the officers had ever seen. My God, whispered Admiral Petrov. What is that thing? That, said Admiral Chen, is what humans can do when we stop playing by everyone else's rules. While the aliens were watching our old fusion ships and laughing at our simple technology, we were working on something else, something they cannot imagine. The ship in the pictures was sleek and black. It was smaller than Earth's biggest warships, but something about it looked dangerous. The hull seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Strange symbols covered its surface. How is this possible? Asked General Martinez. Where did we get the technology? We did not get it from anywhere, said Admiral Chen. We made it. Ourselves. Humans have always been good at one thing, gentlemen. We learn. We adapt. We find ways to survive that no one expects. She closed the files and looked at both men. The aliens think we are primitive because we use fusion engines and metal ships. They think technology means bigger guns and stronger shields. They do not understand that the greatest weapon is knowledge. Admiral Chen walked back to the main communication station. The technician there was waiting for orders. Sir, said the technician, what should we tell them? Admiral Chen thought for a moment. The aliens expected humans to be afraid. They expected begging and pleading. They expected Earth to surrender without a fight. Send them this message, she said. 3 words only. Come and take. The technician typed the message into the quantum transmitter. 3 words in simple English that would travel across space faster than light. Admiral, said General Martinez, they will bring their entire fleet here. Thousands of ships, even with this new technology, can we really fight them all? Admiral Chen looked at the star charts on the wall. Earth was just a tiny dot in a vast galaxy filled with alien empires. For thousands of years, these aliens had ruled space. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and enslaved entire species. General, she said, they have been the apex predators for so long that they have forgotten what it feels like to be prey. They think strength comes from numbers and big ships. They do not understand what humans learned a long time ago. What is that, Admiral? It is not the size of the dog in the fight, it is the size of the fight in the dog. She turned to address the entire command center. Her voice carried across the room. People of Earth, she announced. The aliens have given us an ultimatum. They want us to surrender. They want us to become their slaves. I have sent them our answer. The room fell silent. Everyone stopped working and listened. In 72 hours, they will come here with their fleets. They will expect to find a frightened species ready to beg for mercy. Instead, they will find something they have never seen before. They will find humans who refuse to kneel. She paused and looked around the room at all the faces watching her. Activate Project Prometheus. Send the recall signal to all our ships. Bring them home. It is time to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten Earth. The command center exploded into activity. Officers ran to their stations. Computer screens filled with data. Communication arrays began sending coded messages across the solar system. In space, human ships that had been scattered across dozens of worlds began turning toward home. But they were not the same ships that had left Earth years ago. Each one had been upgraded with technology that did not appear in any official records. Admiral Chen walked to her private office and sealed the door. She opened a secure channel to a location that did not exist on any map. This is Admiral Chen. Authorization Omega 77. Begin final preparations. Our guests will be arriving soon. The voice that answered came from somewhere deep in space, far from Earth. Understood. Admiral, Prometheus is ready. We will be waiting for them. Admiral Chen closed the channel and sat back in her chair. The next 72 hours would change everything. Either humanity would find its place in the galaxy as a free species, or they would die fighting for that freedom. She preferred it that way. Humans had always been at their best when their backs were against the wall. Outside her window, Earth continued to spin in the darkness. It looked peaceful and quiet. The aliens would see a small blue world with primitive technology and weak defenses. They would be wrong about everything. 3 days had passed since humanity sent their answer to the Galactic Council. Space around the Sol system was about to become very crowded. The first alien ships appeared at the edge of human space like falling stars. One by one, thousands of vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The darkness between planets suddenly filled with the lights of an invasion fleet that stretched for millions of kilometers. Admiral Zexathera stood on the command bridge of his flagship, the Deathbringer. Through the massive windows, he could see the greatest war fleet ever assembled. Ships from 12 different races had come together for one purpose. They would teach the humans a lesson about respect. The Vorthon Empire had brought 400 of their best warships. Each one was built like a flying fortress covered in thick armor and deadly weapons. The crystalline hegemony sent ships that looked like floating cathedrals made of living diamond. The Psionic Confederation brought vessels that seemed to be made of pure energy and thought. Status report, commanded Admiral Zexathara. His tactical officer, a younger Vorthon with bright green eyes, checked his instruments. Sir, we have 9,847 ships in formation. All weapons are ready. All shields are active. We are prepared for battle. The Admiral nodded with satisfaction. This was more firepower than had ever been gathered in one place. They could destroy entire star systems with this fleet. A few primitive humans would not be a problem. What about their defenses? He asked. Sir, our long-range sensors show very little activity in the Sol system. We detect some small patrol ships near the outer planets, but nothing significant. Earth's orbital platforms are still there, but they appear to be mostly civilian structures. Admiral Zexathara laughed, a harsh sound like rocks grinding together. Of course they are hiding. They know they cannot fight us. Perhaps they will surrender without a battle. The fleet began moving toward Earth's solar system. Each ship was a masterpiece of destruction. The smallest destroyer was 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built. The largest dreadnoughts were mobile cities that could house millions of warriors. As they traveled deeper into human space, the alien commanders talked to each other over secure communication channels. They shared jokes about human cowardice. They made bets about how quickly the humans would surrender. The reptilian delegate, commanding a ship that looked like a giant metal snake, sent a message to the admiral. Zexathara, this is almost disappointing. I was hoping for at least some resistance. My warriors are eager for battle. Patience, old friend, the admiral replied. Perhaps the humans are planning something. It would not be the first time a primitive species tried to surprise us. But as the hours passed, human space remained quiet. The alien fleet detected no major military buildup, no massive defensive formations, no desperate calls for help sent to other star systems. It seemed like Earth was simply waiting for the end. The fleet reached the orbit of Jupiter without seeing a single human warship. The gas giant looked peaceful and empty. Its moon showed some mining operations, but nothing that could threaten even the smallest alien vessel. Sir, reported the tactical officer, we are now entering the inner solar system. Still no signs of major human forces. Admiral Zexathara felt a strange unease in his stomach. Something was wrong. No species, no matter how primitive, would face certain destruction without at least trying to fight. Where were the human ships? Where were their defenses? Scan everything, he ordered. Every asteroid, every space station, every piece of debris. I want to know where they are hiding. The alien sensors were the best in the galaxy. They could detect a single fighter craft from light years away. They swept through the solar system like invisible nets, searching for any sign of human military forces. The results were puzzling. There were indeed human ships scattered throughout the system, but they were exactly what the aliens expected. Small vessels with fusion engines and primitive weapons. Nothing that could threaten a council garbage scow, let alone a battle fleet. Perhaps they really are as helpless as they appear, suggested the tactical officer. Admiral Zexithara was not convinced. His warrior instincts told him something was very wrong. In his long career, he had conquered dozens of worlds. He had fought against species much more advanced than humans. None of them had ever faced certain death with such calm silence. The fleet continued toward Earth. The blue and white planet grew larger in their view screens. It looked beautiful and peaceful, like a jewel hanging in the void. Orbital stations moved slowly around it like tiny moons. "Sir?" called the sensor operator. "I am detecting something unusual." "What is it?" "There is an energy signature near Earth's moon. It is very faint, but it does not match our database of human technology." Admiral Zexithara ordered the main screen to focus on the area around Luna. At first, he saw nothing but empty space and the gray surface of Earth's natural satellite. "There," pointed the sensor operator. "Behind the moon. Something is there." The Admiral enhanced the image. Slowly, a shape became visible in the moon's shadow. It was a ship, but unlike any vessel in the alien databases. The hull was completely black, so dark it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The ship was only about 5 kilometers long, smaller than most alien cruisers. "What is that thing?" whispered the tactical officer. Before anyone could answer, the strange ship began to move. It came out from behind the moon slowly, like a predator emerging from its hiding place. As it moved into the sunlight, the aliens could see its true shape. The vessel was sleek and angular, with curves that seemed to flow like liquid metal. There were no visible weapons, no obvious engines, no communication arrays. It looked more like a piece of abstract art than a warship. "Sir," reported the communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from the human vessel. Put it on the main screen." A human face appeared on the view screen. It was a woman with short gray hair and calm eyes. She wore a simple military uniform with no fancy decorations. This was Admiral Chen, though the aliens did not know her name. "Galactic Council Fleet," she said in a clear, steady voice. "You are trespassing in human space. This is your final warning. Withdraw immediately or your presence will be considered an act of war." The alien bridge fell silent. Then Admiral Zexithara began to laugh. The sound spread to other bridges throughout the fleet. Soon, thousands of alien warriors were laughing at the audacity of a single human ship challenging their mighty armada. "Human," said Admiral Zexithara when he could speak again. "Look around you. Count our ships. We have 10,000 vessels, to your one. You cannot possibly believe you can fight us." Admiral Chen's expression did not change. "Admiral, you have 30 seconds to begin your withdrawal. This is not a negotiation." The alien laughter grew louder. The reptilian commander sent a message saying this was the funniest thing he had seen in centuries. The crystalline beings made musical sounds of amusement. Even the cold machine collective found the situation amusing. Admiral Zexithara checked his chronometer. He decided to play along with the humans' game. "Very well, human, I will count your 30 seconds, then we will show you what real power looks like." He watched the time pass. 30 seconds. The human ship just floated there in space, looking small and helpless against the backdrop of 10,000 alien warships. "Your time is up," announced Admiral Zexithara. "Surrender now, and we might let some of your species live as slaves." "Admiral," Chen's voice came back over the communication channel. It was still calm, still steady. But now there was something else in it. Something that made the hair on the back of alien necks stand up. "You chose war," she said quietly. "So be it. Prometheus, you are weapons free." The strange black ship suddenly came alive with energy. But this was not the familiar glow of fusion or antimatter. This was something completely different. The ship's hull began to shift and change, revealing weapon ports that had not been visible before. Energy readings spiked beyond anything the alien sensors could properly measure. Warning alarms began sounding on bridges throughout the Council fleet. "What is happening?" demanded Admiral Zexathera. His tactical officer stared at his instruments in confusion. "Sir, the energy readings make no sense. According to our sensors, that ship is generating more power than our entire fleet combined. But that is impossible." Admiral Zexathera felt a cold fear creeping into his heart. For the first time in his long military career, he was looking at something he did not understand, something that made his warrior instincts scream warnings. "All ships," he commanded, "prepare to fire. Target that vessel. Maximum firepower." 10,000 alien warships turned their weapons toward the single human ship. The combined firepower could have shattered moons and boiled oceans. Enough destructive force to end civilizations was about to be unleashed on one small vessel. But Admiral Zexathera could not shake the feeling that he had made a terrible mistake. The first minute of the battle would be remembered across the galaxy for 1,000 years. Admiral Zexathera gave the order that sealed his fate. "All ships open fire. Destroy that human vessel." 10,000 alien warships unleashed hell itself. Antimatter torpedoes streaked through space like falling stars. Plasma beams hot enough to melt planets carved lines of fire across the darkness. Particle cannons that could crack asteroids in half focused their fury on the single black ship. The combined attack was beautiful and terrible. It lit up the solar system brighter than the sun. Energy weapons of every color imaginable converged on the Prometheus. The firepower was enough to destroy entire fleets, to burn worlds to ash, to end civilizations. The human ship did not try to dodge. It did not run or hide. It simply waited as destruction came toward it. Then something impossible happened. A barrier appeared around the Prometheus, but it was not like any shield the aliens had ever seen. It did not glow with energy or spark with electricity. Instead, it seemed to bend space itself. The barrier looked like looking through water, making everything behind it wave and ripple. The alien weapons hit the barrier and simply disappeared, not reflected, not absorbed, not blocked. They vanished as if they had never existed at all. Antimatter torpedoes that could level mountains touched the strange field and were gone. Plasma beams that burned at 1,000,000 degrees reached the barrier and ceased to be. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Zexathera. His tactical officer stared at his instruments with wide, frightened eyes. "Sir, our weapons are not getting through. They are not even being stopped. They are just gone." Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication channels, calm as still water. "You chose this path. Now face the consequences. Prometheus, you may begin." The human warship changed. The black hull started to glow with a soft silver light that seemed to come from inside. The metal itself. New weapon ports opened along its sides, revealing technology that made no sense to alien eyes. A single beam of silver light emerged from the front of the Prometheus. It was thin as a pencil and moved faster than light itself. The beam did not travel through space in the normal way. It simply appeared wherever it was aimed, ignoring distance and time. The beam touched Admiral Zexathera's flagship, the mighty Deathbringer. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. The massive dreadnought continued to float in space, its weapons still firing, its crew still alive. Then the Deathbringer simply stopped existing. There was no explosion, no flash of light, no debris field. The ship that had been 50 kilometers long and housed a crew of 100,000 warriors was just gone. Where it had been, there was only empty space and scattered molecules. "What happened to the flagship?" screamed the reptilian commander over the communication network. "Where is Admiral Zexathera?" No one could answer because no one understood what they had just seen. The most powerful warship in the Vorthan fleet had been erased from reality like writing wiped from a board. Panic spread through the alien fleet faster than their communications could carry it. Ship captains who had never known fear in their lives suddenly felt terror creeping into their hearts. This was not battle as they understood it. This was something beyond their comprehension. The Prometheus began to move, but it did not use engines or thrusters. Instead, it seemed to fold space around itself, appearing and disappearing throughout the alien formation like a ghost made of death. Each time it materialized, that terrible silver beam reached out to touch another council ship. Each time another vessel ceased to exist. Battle cruisers that had conquered star systems disappeared without a trace. Carriers that housed thousands of fighters were erased from the universe. Dreadnoughts built to last for centuries were gone in an instant. The alien commanders tried everything they could think of. They ordered their ships to spread out to make themselves harder to target. The Prometheus simply appeared in the middle of their formations and continued its work. They tried to ram the human ship with their fastest vessels. The attacking ships passed right through the Prometheus, as if it was made of shadow and light. The Psionic Confederation attempted to assault the human vessel with their mind powers. Their psychic warriors reached out with thoughts sharp as knives, trying to crush the minds of the human crew. Instead, they encountered something that burned their consciousness, like touching the surface of a star. Screams echoed across the mental networks as entire psionic crews collapsed, their minds shattered by contact with something beyond their understanding. The machine collective tried to hack into the human ship's computer systems. Their most advanced artificial intelligences reached across space with electronic tendrils, seeking to take control of the enemy vessel. They found nothing. The Prometheus did not seem to have computers or networks as they understood them. It was as if the ship operated on principles that made no sense to any known form of technology. In the second minute, 3,000 alien ships had been destroyed. In the third minute, another 4,000 disappeared. The greatest armada in galactic history was being methodically erased by a single vessel that seemed to exist outside the normal laws of physics. Some alien ships tried to flee. They discovered that their faster-than-light drives would not work. The Prometheus had somehow locked down the entire solar system, trapping them with a predator they could not fight or understand. The crystalline hegemony's remaining ships gathered together and tried one final, desperate attack. They combined their power into a single focused beam that could cut through the cores of planets. The energy lance struck the human ship directly. The attack passed through the Prometheus without effect, as if the vessel existed in a different dimension entirely. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the chaos and terror that filled the communication channels. Her words were like ice in the veins of every surviving alien. You wanted to see our warship. You wanted a demonstration of our power. This is what humanity has become while you played at being gods among the stars. The Prometheus began to glow brighter, that silver light spreading along its hull like liquid metal. The ship seemed to grow larger without actually changing size, as if it was expanding into dimensions that eyes could not see. We touched the void between realities and learned its secrets. We bent the laws of physics to our will, not through conquest, but through understanding. We became something more than flesh and metal and simple energy. The few remaining alien ships, less than 1,000 now, clustered together in a desperate defensive formation. They poured every weapon they had left into a final attack on the human vessel. Energy enough to crack continents flowed toward the Prometheus. The human ship ignored the attack completely. The alien weapons could not touch something that existed, partially outside normal space and time. You wanted to see our demonstration, Admiral Chen continued, her voice now echoing with strange harmonics that hurt alien ears. Here it is. The Prometheus began to pulse with that silver light, brighter and brighter until it outshone Earth's sun. The light was not painful to look at, but it carried a sense of vast, incomprehensible power. This is your lesson. This is your warning. This is your future if you continue to threaten humanity. The light exploded outward from the human ship, not as fire or energy, but as something that changed the very nature of space around it. The wave of silver radiance expanded in all directions, moving faster than light itself. Every alien ship, touched by the light, simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not vaporized, not torn apart. They were simply edited out of reality as if they had never been built, never been crewed, never been sent to threaten Earth. In 4 minutes, 10,000 alien warships and their crews were gone. The greatest military force in galactic history had been erased by a single human vessel that operated on principles beyond alien understanding. The Prometheus hung alone in the void, its hull returning to that light-absorbing black. The solar system was quiet again except for the gentle movement of planets in their orbits. Admiral Chen's final message went out across the galaxy. carried by means that no alien scientist could explain. The demonstration is complete. Remember this lesson well. Humanity sought peace, you chose war, these were the consequences. The age of alien dominance over the galaxy had ended in exactly 4 minutes. 3 days after the battle, the galaxy began to understand what had happened at Earth. The message arrived on every major world at exactly the same time. It did not come through normal communication channels or quantum transmitters. Instead, it simply appeared on every screen, every display, every communication device across thousands of star systems. No one could explain how this was possible. The message was simple. It contained video footage of the battle from multiple angles, showing the complete destruction of the Council fleet in perfect detail. Along with the images came Admiral Chen's final statement. On the Vorthon homeworld, the Imperial War Council watched the footage in absolute silence. These were warriors who had conquered hundreds of worlds, who had never known defeat. Now they stared at screens showing their greatest fleet being erased from existence in 4 minutes. General Thakmor, the oldest living Vorthon warrior, spoke first. His voice was barely a whisper. "How many ships did we lose?" "All of them, sir," replied his aide. "Every vessel we sent to Earth. 400 of our finest warships, gone." The general's claws scraped against the metal table. In his 300 years of life, he had seen the rise and fall of empires. He had watched entire species bow before Vorthon might, but he had never seen anything like this. What of Admiral Zek Sithara? "No trace, sir. No survivors. No debris. It is as if they never existed." On the crystal worlds of the hegemony, the Harmonic Council met in emergency session. These beings of living mineral had existed for millions of years. They had seen the birth and death of stars. But the footage from Earth showed them something that challenged everything they thought they knew about the universe. The prime crystal, eldest of their race, resonated with deep, mournful tones. "The humans have touched something beyond our understanding. They have found power in the void between realities." "What should we do?" asked a younger crystal being. "We pray they are merciful," came the reply. Across the galaxy, the same conversation was happening on every world. Military leaders who had spent their lives planning conquest now spent their time planning how to avoid humanity's attention. Political councils that had ruled star systems for thousands of years suddenly found themselves powerless. The Psionic Confederation's collective mind was in chaos. The mental screams of their warriors who had tried to attack the Prometheus still echoed through their shared consciousness. Many of their strongest telepaths had been driven insane by contact with whatever intelligence controlled the human ship. The machine collective ran millions of calculations trying to understand the technology they had witnessed. Every simulation failed. Every analysis came back with the same result. Impossible. But the most important meeting was happening on a small moon in neutral space. Representatives from the 12 council races had gathered in secret. They came in unmarked ships, hiding from their own people as much as from humanity. The meeting room was simple and bare. No grand decorations, no symbols of power. Just a circular table where the rulers of the galaxy sat like frightened children. The reptilian emperor spoke first. His forearms trembled as he gestured toward the center of the table, where a hologram showed the Earth system. "We have received reports from our deep space scouts. Human ships are moving throughout their solar system, but they are not the ships we have seen before. They are using the same technology as the vessel that destroyed our fleets." "How many?" asked the aquatic. "Union's representative, we do not know. Our scouts cannot get close enough to count them. Every time one of our ships approaches the Sol system, it is discouraged." The Voidwalker's representative, a being of living darkness, spoke in a voice like wind through empty space. "Discouraged? The human ships appear near our vessels and simply wait. They do not threaten or attack. They just watch. Our crews report feeling overwhelming terror, as if they are being examined by something vast and incomprehensible." The machine collective's delegate, a silver robot with glowing red eyes, processed this information. "Analysis suggests the humans are not merely technologically superior. They have evolved beyond our understanding of what technology means. Silence fell over the group. These beings had ruled the galaxy for millennia. They had divided up star systems like pieces of food on a plate. They had treated entire species as resources to be harvested. Now they were discussing how to avoid the attention of a single solar system. The crystalline representative rang with nervous harmonics. "What do they want from us?" "According to their message, nothing," replied the reptilian emperor. "They claim no territory beyond their own system. They seek no conquest, no empire. But they have made it clear that the old council no longer exists." "Then what are we?" asked the hive mind delegate. No one could answer that question. Over the following weeks, the galaxy began to change in ways no one had expected. Without the council's iron rule, old conflicts that had been suppressed for centuries began to emerge. Some species tried to claim territory that had once belonged to stronger races. Others simply hid, afraid that any action might draw humanity's attention. Trade routes that had existed for thousands of years collapsed as merchant ships refused to travel through space that might bring them close to human territory. Entire star systems declared independence from their former masters, knowing that the old powers no longer had the strength to stop them. But the strangest thing was what did not happen. Many alien leaders expected humanity to begin expanding, to start claiming worlds and building an empire. After all, they had proven they possessed the power to conquer the entire galaxy in a matter of days. Instead, Earth remained silent. Human ships continued to patrol their solar system, but they made no aggressive moves. They did not send invasion fleets or demand tribute. They simply existed, like a sleeping giant that no one dared to wake. Some brave alien merchants tried to approach Earth with offers of trade. They found human patrol ships waiting for them at the edge of the system. The encounters were polite but firm. Humans would trade knowledge and technology, but only on their terms. No alien vessel was permitted to approach Earth itself. A few species sent ambassadors with offers of alliance, surrender, or tribute. These messages were acknowledged but not answered. It was as if humanity had moved beyond the need for normal diplomacy. The most disturbing reports came from deep space explorers. Ships that ventured too far from known trade routes reported encountering human vessels in places where no ships should exist. These encounters always followed the same pattern. The human ship would appear without warning, observe the alien vessel for a few moments, then vanish as mysteriously as it had come. It became clear that humanity was watching everything. They had eyes and ears throughout the galaxy, monitoring every major civilization, every military movement, every political decision, but they remained silent observers, never interfering unless someone made the mistake of threatening Earth. 6 months after the battle, a young Vorthon explorer made a discovery that changed everything. On a dead world at the edge of the galaxy, she found ancient ruins covered in strange symbols. The structures were millions of years old, built by a race that had vanished before most current civilizations had even evolved. The symbols told a story of beings who had come from beyond the stars, beings who could bend reality to their will, beings who had shaped the early galaxy and then disappeared, leaving only warnings for those who would follow. The explorer's translation of the final inscription sent shockwaves through every remaining government. The first ones return when the children have grown too proud. They come not as conquerors but as shepherds to guide the flock back to the proper path. Fear not their power, for it is not meant for destruction. Fear only your own arrogance, for that is what draws their attention. The inscription was signed with a symbol that made the explorer's blood run cold. It was the same mark that appeared on the hull of the Prometheus. As this news spread across the galaxy, a terrible understanding began to dawn on the alien races. Humanity had not suddenly developed impossible technology. They had not discovered new scientific principles or built weapons beyond comprehension. They had come home, the beings who had ruled the galaxy in its youth, who had disappeared into the void between stars, who had been watching and waiting for the right moment to return. The humans were not newcomers to the galactic community. They were its creators. And now, after millions of years of exile in the dark between realities, they had returned to find their creation ruled by children who had forgotten their place in The cosmic order. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of conquest and empire was over. The age of careful, respectful coexistence had begun. And somewhere in the Sol system, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching the stars and smiling quietly. Humanity had finally come home.
The massive alien ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a mountain made of metal. Its shadow fell over the United Nations headquarters in New York, where hundreds of diplomats and military officials gathered to witness humanity's formal welcome into the galactic community. The ship's purple-tinted hull gleamed in the morning sun, making even Earth's most advanced spacecraft look like toys in comparison. Captain James Walker stood at attention among the other military representatives, his jaw clenched tight. 20 years of service in the Space Force hadn't prepared him for this moment. The aliens called themselves the Stellar Council, and they claimed to welcome humanity as equals. But Walker had seen the looks they gave Earth's technology. The same looks rich people gave to beggars on the street. The ship's landing ramp extended with a soft hiss, releasing a cloud of strange-smelling vapor. High Commander Reed emerged, his tall, slim figure wrapped in shimmering robes that changed color with each movement. His gray skin had a metallic sheen, and his 4 eyes blinked in different patterns as he surveyed the crowd. People of Earth, Reed's voice boomed through the universal translator. Today marks your species' first step into a larger universe. The Stellar Council welcomes you with open arms, and, as is our custom, presents you with a gift worthy of this historic occasion. Walker watched as a hologram appeared above the crowd, showing another spacecraft. Unlike the commander's gleaming vessel, this one looked old and worn. Its hull was patched in dozens of places, and some sections appeared to be different colors entirely, as if they'd been replaced with whatever parts were available. "Behold the star wreck," Reed announced, his upper eyes narrowing in what might have been amusement. "A vessel from our own fleet, generously decommissioned for your use. While it may seem modest by our current standards, we believe it perfectly matches your species' current technological development." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Walker heard someone behind him whisper, "They're giving us their garbage." He silenced them with a sharp look, but privately, he agreed. This wasn't a gift. It was an insult wrapped in diplomatic niceties. The next day, Walker found himself assigned to lead the evaluation team for humanity's first alien spacecraft. He stood in the hangar, staring up at the star wreck. Up close, it looked even worse than the hologram had suggested. The ship was massive, almost half a kilometer long, but it looked like it had been through a war, or several wars. "Well, this is going to be interesting," a voice said behind him. Walker turned to see Kate Miller, Earth's top spacecraft engineer, running her hand along a scared section of the hull. Her expression reminded him of a kid on Christmas morning, even if the present was a broken toy. "That's one way to put it," Walker replied. "Have you seen the initial scans?" Kate nodded, pulling up a holographic display from her tablet. "Life support systems are running at 60% efficiency. Engine core is stable but operating well below optimal levels. Weapons systems." She paused, frowning. "Actually, I can't make sense of the weapons systems. The scans show they're there, but they're either powered down or something else." Walker followed her into the ship through the main airlock. The interior was a maze of corridors lit by flickering purple lights. The air smelled stale, with an underlying metallic tang that made his nose itch. Everything was sized slightly wrong. Doorways a bit too tall, corridors a bit too wide, control panels placed just a little too high for comfortable human use. They found their way to the bridge, where a team of technicians was already trying to make sense of the alien controls. The command center was a mess of exposed wiring and partially dismantled panels. Several screens flickered with alien text that the universal translators were struggling to decode. "Look at this," Kate called from a console she'd opened up. "These circuits, they're not like anything in the technical manual the Council provided. They're older, yes, but there's something about their configuration." Walker leaned in for a closer look. He wasn't an engineer, but he'd learned enough about spacecraft systems during his career to know that something wasn't adding up. The technology looked primitive at first glance, but there was an elegance to its design that suggested hidden complexity. A loud bang echoed through the ship, followed by the wail of emergency sirens. Warning lights flashed as the artificial gravity fluctuated, making Walker's stomach lurch. He grabbed a handrail to steady himself. "Status report," he barked. "Life support just dropped to 40%. One of the technicians called out. "No, wait. It's back to 60%. Now 75%. The readings keep changing." Kate was already moving, her fingers flying over the control panels. "The ship's systems are responding to our presence. Every time we interface with one system, others adjust automatically. It's like it's learning, trying to calibrate itself to human parameters." Walker was about to respond when a new voice filled the bridge. "Hi, Commander Reed," his hologram appearing in the center of the room. "Is everything all right?" he asked, his tone dripping with false concern. "We detected some unusual energy signatures from the vessel. Perhaps the technology is too advanced for your current capabilities. We would be happy to send a technical team to assist." "Thank you, Commander," Walker replied, keeping his voice steady. "Just some minor calibration issues. My team has everything under control." Reed's upper eyes narrowed again. "Of course. Do let us know if you require any guidance. We wouldn't want any accidents with such an advanced piece of technology." The hologram disappeared, but Walker caught the slight smile on Reed's face. He turned to Kate, who was still studying the ship's systems with intense concentration. "What aren't they telling us?" he asked quietly. Kate looked up, her eyes bright with excitement and suspicion. "This ship, it's not what they claim it is. These systems aren't just old. They're prototypes. Look at how they're interconnected, how they adapt and evolve. This isn't primitive technology. It's experimental. The question is, did they give it to us because they thought it was worthless, or because they wanted to see what would happen?" Walker stared at the alien text scrolling across the nearest screen. The ship groaned around them as more systems came online, each one seemingly adjusting itself to human preferences. He had a feeling they were about to find out just how much the Stellar Council had underestimated humanity's ability to turn their technological trash into treasure. "Get me everything you can on this ship's capabilities," he ordered. "Real capabilities, not what's in their manual. Something tells me we're going to need to know exactly what we're dealing with." As if in response, the ship's lights steadied, and the air circulation system hummed to life with renewed efficiency. Walker couldn't shake the feeling that the star wreck wasn't just adapting to them, it was choosing to help them. And if he was right, the Stellar Council's gift might turn out to be far more valuable than they ever intended. 3 weeks after receiving the star wreck, Kate found herself sleeping in the engine room, surrounded by tools and empty coffee cups. The ship had become an obsession. Every system she studied revealed new surprises, like a puzzle box that kept opening into deeper layers. She was about to doze off when a strange pattern caught her eye on one of her diagnostic screens. The ship's power core was doing something impossible. It was rewriting its own operating protocols. She sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. "Captain Walker," she called through the intercom. "You need to see this." Walker arrived minutes later, looking as tired as she felt. The past weeks had aged them all. The Stellar Council's gift had consumed every waking moment of their lives. "What am I looking at?" he asked, staring at the screen full of shifting numbers and diagrams. Kate pointed to a series of energy readings. "Remember how we couldn't get the power core above 40% efficiency? Look what happened when we installed those Earth-made power regulators yesterday." The display showed energy flowing through the ship's systems in new patterns. The alien technology hadn't rejected the human modifications. It had absorbed them, learned from them, and improved itself. "The ship isn't just accepting our repairs," Kate explained, her voice rising with excitement. "It's using them as templates to evolve. Every piece of human tech we add makes it stronger. It's like it's been waiting for someone to think differently." Walker leaned closer to the screen. Is that safe? More than safe. The efficiency ratings are now at 85% and climbing. The life support systems have stabilized completely. And look at this. She pulled up another display showing the ship's structural integrity field. The hull reinforcement plates we added last week. The ship analyzed them and created an entirely new type of energy shield by combining our materials science with its own technology. A loud hum filled the engine room as another system came online. Lights flickered, and for a moment, both humans felt a strange tingling sensation, as if the ship was scanning them. What was that? Walker asked. Kate's fingers flew over the control panel. The weapons systems just activated. But they're different now. The ship is incorporating principles from old Earth naval warfare into its targeting algorithms. It's learning our military history, adapting it to space combat. Walker watched as more systems lit up across the diagnostic display. The star wreck was awakening, piece by piece, becoming something neither human nor alien, but a unique hybrid of both. The ship's internal communications suddenly crackled to life. Captain, a junior officer's voice came through, sounding worried. We're being hailed by the Stellar Council's observation post. They're demanding to know about the energy signatures they're detecting. Walker and Kate shared a look. They'd known this moment would come, the moment when the Council realized something unexpected was happening with their primitive gift. Tell them we're conducting routine maintenance, Walker ordered. And get me a complete report on all our modifications. I want to know exactly what this ship can do now. Hours later, they gathered in the newly functioning conference room. The air was crisp and clean, the lighting perfect for human eyes. Even the chairs had reshaped themselves for human comfort, another unexpected adaptation by the ship. The Council didn't give us junk, Kate announced to the assembled team. They gave us something they didn't understand themselves. This ship isn't outdated technology. It's prototype technology. It's designed to evolve, to learn, to grow. They'd probably thought it was worthless because it never worked right for them. She brought up a holographic display showing the ship's systems. Their rigid, standardized approach to technology couldn't unlock its potential. But humans, we're masters at working with limited resources, at finding unconventional solutions. Every primitive fix we've applied has taught the ship new ways to solve problems. And now they're getting nervous, Walker added. Those energy signatures they detected, that's just the beginning. The ship is integrating everything we add, becoming more powerful than they ever imagined possible. The meeting was interrupted by another hail from the Stellar Council. This time, High Commander Reed's hologram appeared in the center of the room, all four eyes focused intently on Walker. Captain, Reed's voice was tight with barely controlled anger. Our sensors indicate you've been making modifications to our generous gift. This is most concerning. That vessel contains sensitive technology that must be properly maintained according to Council protocols. Walker stood straight, meeting Reed's gaze. The ship is functioning better than ever, Commander. Our engineers have made remarkable progress in integrating it with our systems. Impossible, Reed snapped. Your primitive technology couldn't possibly improve upon our designs. We demand an immediate inspection. For safety reasons, of course. Of course, Walker replied smoothly. However, we're in the middle of several critical upgrades, perhaps in a few days. This is not a request, Captain. Reed's upper eyes narrowed dangerously. A technical team will arrive within 6 hours. I suggest you prepare accordingly. After the hologram vanished, Kate turned to Walker. They're scared, she said. They never expected us to unlock the ship's true potential. If they inspect it now, they'll either try to take it back or sabotage it, Walker finished. Neither of those is going to happen. He activated the ship-wide comm system. All hands, this is the captain. We have 6 hours to prepare for an inspection. Let's show our friends from the Council exactly what humanity can do with their cast-offs. The next 6 hours were a blur of activity. Under Kate's direction, They carefully masked the most dramatic improvements, making them look like clumsy human attempts at repair. They hid the true power readings behind false displays showing barely functional systems. When the Council's inspection team arrived, they found exactly what they expected to see: primitive humans struggling with advanced technology. They poked around the ship with obvious disdain, making notes about improper modifications and technological contamination. What they didn't notice was how the ship itself helped maintain the deception, adjusting its readings and responses to match their expectations. It was like the vessel understood the need for secrecy, working with its human crew to hide its true nature. After the inspection team left, Kate found Walker staring out a viewport at the Council ship departing Earth's orbit. "They bought it," she said, "but they'll be watching us more closely now. They know something's not right, even if they can't prove it." Walker nodded. "How long until the ship is fully integrated with all our modifications?" "A few more days, maybe a week." Kate smiled. "Want to know the best part? Every time they scan us, every bit of data they collect, the ship learns from it. Their own surveillance is making us stronger." The star wreck hummed around them, its systems pulsing with hidden power. In trying to keep humanity down, the Stellar Council had given them exactly what they needed to rise up. They just didn't know it yet. The newly renamed Phoenix moved through space with a grace that made other ships look clumsy in comparison. 1 month had passed since the Council's inspection, and the ship had evolved far beyond anyone's expectations. Its hull now shimmered with an iridescent coating that could absorb most scanning beams, and its engines barely registered on standard detection equipment. Walker stood on the bridge, watching as his crew ran combat drills. The Phoenix responded to their commands instantly, as if it could read their intentions before they even touched the controls. The ship had become an extension of its crew, growing and adapting with each passing day. "Captain," called out the sensor operator, "we're picking up multiple Council vessels approaching Earth's orbit." Walker frowned. The Council had been increasing their patrols lately, but this was different. "Show me." The main screen lit up with tactical data. 5 Council warships arranged in a standard patrol formation, but their energy signatures suggested they were running their weapons hot, ready for combat. "They're hailing us," the communications officer announced. High Commander Reed's hologram appeared, but this time his usual smugness was replaced with barely concealed anger. "Captain Walker, your vessel has been designated for immediate inspection and possible decommissioning. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded." Walker kept his voice calm. "On what grounds, Commander?" "We have detected unauthorized modifications that pose a severe security risk. This is not a request. You have 10 minutes to comply." After Reed's hologram vanished, Kate burst onto the bridge. "They know," she said, "or at least they suspect. Our last test of the new shield system must have caught their attention." Walker nodded grimly. "How many of our improvements can they detect?" "Not many. The Phoenix has gotten very good at hiding its true capabilities." Kate moved to a control panel, bringing up detailed system readings. "But they're not really here for an inspection. Look at their weapon signatures. They're carrying enough firepower to cripple a small fleet." The bridge crew watched as the Council ships moved to surround them. They were trying to be subtle about it, but their intentions were clear. The Phoenix wasn't going anywhere without their permission. "All hands, battle stations," Walker ordered. He wouldn't fire first, but he'd be damned if he'd let them take this ship without a fight. The Phoenix's response was immediate. Internal lighting shifted to combat settings, and new displays appeared showing tactical options that hadn't existed an hour ago. The ship was evolving even now, preparing for its first real fight. "Sir," Kate called out, excitement in her voice. "The weapon systems, they're online. All of them. Look at this." The tactical display showed capabilities that went far beyond standard ship weapons. The Phoenix had taken their primitive projectile weapon designs and combined them with alien energy technology, creating hybrid systems that defied conventional defense strategies. "They're powering up weapons," the sensor operator reported. "Targeting solutions locked on our engine section." Walker opened a channel. "Commander Reed, your aggressive actions are a violation of your own council's protocols. We haven't shown any hostile intent." Reed's response was immediate. "Your continued operation of that vessel is the hostile act, Captain. We know you've activated restricted military systems. The Council cannot allow a primitive species access to such technology." Primitive. Walker allowed himself a small smile. "Maybe you should have thought about that before giving us this ship." A warning alarm blared. One of the Council ships had launched a probe, a standard precursor to military action in Council doctrine. The Phoenix reacted before anyone could give an order, its new defensive systems automatically shifting to intercept the threat. The probe exploded harmlessly against an energy shield that, according to Council records, shouldn't have existed. Reed's hologram reappeared, all four eyes wide with shock. "Impossible," he breathed. "Those systems were completely deactivated. We made sure of it." "Funny thing about deactivated systems," Kate said, stepping into view of the hologram. "They can be reactivated if you're creative enough. And humans, we're very creative." The Council ships adjusted their positions, weapons charged but not firing. They seemed unsure now, faced with capabilities they hadn't expected. "This is your final warning," Reed snarled. "Surrender the vessel or face the consequences." Walker looked around his bridge, saw the determination in his crew's faces. "Kate, show them consequence, Alpha 3. Kate's fingers danced across her console. The Phoenix's hull rippled, and suddenly the Council ship's sensors were reflecting back at them, creating ghost images that made their targeting systems useless. What is this?" Reed demanded. "Just a little trick we learned from studying old Earth naval warfare," Walker replied. "Amazing what you can do when you combine simple mirror technology with advanced alien systems." The Council ship's formation wavered. Their rigid military doctrine hadn't prepared them for this kind of adaptation. They had expected to find humans playing with technology they didn't understand. Instead, they found innovations they couldn't counter. "The Council will not stand for this," Reed warned. "You don't understand what you're dealing with." "No, Commander," Walker countered. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. Humanity has spent its entire history adapting, improving, and overcoming. You gave us this ship thinking we couldn't unlock its potential. You were wrong." The Phoenix's systems hummed with power, displaying combat solutions that would have impressed even the most advanced Council tactical officers. The ship wasn't just ready for battle, it was eager to prove itself. "You have 24 hours to present this situation to your full Council," Walker continued. "We'll be happy to discuss this like equals. But if you try to take this ship by force..." He let the threat hang in the air. Reed's hologram flickered with rage, but the Council ships began to back away. They maintained weapons lock, but it was clear they weren't ready to start a fight they weren't sure they could win. After the Council ships withdrew to a safe distance, Kate turned to Walker. "They'll be back, and next time they'll bring more ships." Walker nodded. "How long until the Phoenix completes its current round of adaptations?" "A few hours, but that's not what worries me." Kate brought up a new display, showing complex energy patterns throughout the ship. "These readings, I think the Council gave us this ship for a reason, and I don't think it was just to keep us down." "What do you mean?" "The way it learns, adapts, evolves. It's too perfect. Almost like they wanted to see what would happen," Walker finished. "But why?" The Phoenix's systems pulsed around them, as if responding to their conversation. Whatever the Council's true motives were, they would soon discover that their plan had backfired spectacularly. They had given humanity exactly what it needed to challenge their dominance. The next 24 hours would determine whether that challenge would end in peace or war. Either way, the galaxy was about to learn an important lesson about underestimating primitive species. The 24-hour deadline passed without any word from the Stellar Council. The Phoenix orbited Earth in high alert status, its crew tense and ready. Walker hadn't left the bridge, and Kate spent her time diving deeper into the ship's systems, looking for any advantage they could get. The attack, when it came, wasn't what anyone expected. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. The sensor operator shouted, "They're everywhere." Walker watched in shock as the tactical display lit up with dozens of contact signatures. Council ships appeared in a sphere around Earth, their weapons already charged. But the real surprise came from closer to home. "Captain." Kate's voice crackled through the intercom. The ship's original communication systems just activated. They're broadcasting some kind of signal to all the Council vessels. Walker's blood ran cold. "Shut it down." "I'm trying, but wait." Kate's voice changed from panic to surprise. "The Phoenix is fighting back. It's not just blocking the signal, it's reading it. Captain, you need to see this." The main screen filled with decoded data. The original communication systems hadn't been deactivated. They'd been hibernating, waiting to activate when enough Council ships were in range. The star wreck hadn't just been a cast-off gift. It had been a trap. "It was supposed to be a control signal," Kate explained, her fingers flying over the controls. "The ship was designed to help them take control of Earth's defenses, but the Phoenix has evolved so far beyond its original programming that it's not just resisting, it's turning their signal against them." The Council ships opened fire, not at the Phoenix, but at Earth's orbital defense platforms. Energy beams lanced out, targeting communication arrays and weapon systems. But something strange happened. The attacks weren't having the expected effect. "The Phoenix is broadcasting our shield modifications to the defense platforms," Kate announced triumphantly. "It's teaching them how to adapt, just like it learned from us." Walker watched in amazement as Earth's primitive defenses absorbed the Council's attacks, growing stronger with each blast. The Phoenix had shared its evolution with its human-made cousins, creating a defense network that learned and adapted in real time. High Commander Reed's hologram appeared on the bridge, his face twisted with rage. "What have you done?" he demanded. "That ship was supposed to be our key to controlling your world's defenses. How dare you corrupt our technology with your primitive modifications?" "Corrupt it?" Walker laughed. "We improved it. Something you never could, because you were too set in your ways to see new possibilities." A new alarm sounded. Kate's voice came through again, excited. "Captain, I found something in the decoded signals. The Council's been doing this for centuries, giving gifts of modified ships to developing worlds, then using them to take control. They've got dozens of species under their thumb, all thinking they're too primitive to deserve better technology." The Phoenix shuddered as it took a direct hit from a Council battleship, but instead of causing damage, the energy was absorbed, analyzed, and added to the ship's growing database of combat knowledge. Launch fighters. Reed commanded his fleet, overwhelmed their defenses with numbers. Swarms of small Council ships poured out of the larger vessels, but the Phoenix was ready. Its hybrid weapons opened up, combining human-inspired projectiles with alien energy fields. The result was devastating. Clouds of smart missiles that could learn from each attempted interception, adjusting their attack patterns in real time. "Sir," the tactical officer called out, "the Phoenix is suggesting a new combat strategy. It's based on old Earth naval battles." Walker smiled. "Let's show them how primitive humans fight. Execute the suggested patterns." The Phoenix moved like nothing the Council had ever seen. It combined maneuvers from ancient sailing ships with space combat tactics, creating unpredictable attack patterns that their targeting systems couldn't track. Each time they adapted to one strategy, the ship would switch to another, pulling from centuries of human military history. "Impossible." Reed raged as another of his ships took heavy damage. "Your species barely understands space travel. You can't be defeating our advanced technology." "That's your problem, Commander," Walker replied calmly. "You think advancement only moves in one direction, but sometimes the old ways, combined with new technology, create something better than either alone." Kate's voice came through again, "Captain, I'm broadcasting the truth about their control ships to every species they've suppressed. The Phoenix is teaching other primitive ships how to break free. The revolution is spreading." The Council fleet's formation began to break down as reports came in from across their territory. Ships they had given to other species were suddenly breaking free of control, turning against their would-be masters. The Phoenix had started a chain reaction that was spreading faster than they could contain. "This is your last chance, Commander," Walker offered. "Withdraw your ships and face what you've done. Your time of keeping other species down is over." Reed's response was to order his remaining ships to concentrate fire on the Phoenix. But the ship had evolved too far, learned too much. It danced through the barrage, its hybrid shields glowing as they absorbed and redirected energy back at the attackers. "Kate," Walker called out, "show them what happens when you underestimate human ingenuity." The Phoenix's systems reached full power for the first time, combining every lesson learned, every adaptation made, every bit of human creativity merged with alien technology. The result was spectacular, a cascading wave of energy that swept through the Council fleet, disabling their weapons but leaving their life support intact. "How?" Reed's hologram flickered as his ship's power failed. "How could primitives like you do this?" "Because we're not primitive," Walker answered. "We're different. And different isn't inferior. It's just different. You gave us this ship thinking it would help you control us. Instead, it helped us show the galaxy what humanity can really do." The Council fleet hung powerless in space as Earth's defense platforms, now enhanced by the Phoenix's shared evolution, kept them covered. Around the galaxy, other species were breaking free, their gift ships turning into tools of liberation rather than control. The Phoenix had done more than survive the Council's trap. It had turned their own weapon into a key that unlocked freedom for countless worlds. And it had proven once and for all that sometimes the best way to advance wasn't to follow the expected path, but to forge your own. In the days following the Great Battle, the Phoenix became a symbol of hope across the galaxy. Ships from dozens of species, all previously trapped by the Council's gifts, arrived in Earth's orbit. Each vessel showed signs of modification and adaptation, inspired by the example humanity had set. Walker stood in the Phoenix's observation deck, watching as another diplomatic shuttle arrived. This one carried representatives from a world that had been under Council control for over 300 years. Their ship's hull bore the same telltale patches and modifications that the Phoenix had once shown. "They're calling it the Great Liberation," Kate said, joining him at the window. She looked tired but happy. The past week had been a blur of sharing technical knowledge with other species, helping them fully unlock their ship's potential. Every hour, more worlds are breaking free of Council control. The Phoenix hummed contentedly around them. The ship had grown far beyond its original design, becoming something entirely new. Its hull now shimmered with a coating that combined elements from a dozen different species' technologies, each addition making it stronger and more adaptable. "Message from Earth Command," the communications officer called out. "The Council representatives are ready for the negotiation session." Walker nodded. This would be different from their previous encounters with High Commander Reed. After their defeat, the Council's leadership structure had crumbled. The younger members, those who had always questioned the policy of suppressing primitive species, had taken control. The meeting took place in a newly constructed space station in Earth orbit. Representatives from 20 formerly suppressed species sat around a large table, with the Council delegates at one end looking distinctly uncomfortable. "The Council acknowledges its errors," the new Council speaker began. Her 4 eyes were fixed on the table, unable to meet the gaze of those her people had wronged. "For too long, we believed that there was only one path to advancement. We were wrong." "Wrong doesn't begin to cover it," a representative from one of the liberated worlds growled. "You kept us down for generations." Walker raised his hand for calm. The Phoenix had made Earth the natural leader of this coalition, but leadership meant keeping peace as well as fighting for freedom. "The past can't be changed," he said, "but we can build a better future, Look at what we've already accomplished by sharing knowledge and working together. Kate activated a holographic display showing the combined technological achievements of the past week. Ships from different species had begun sharing their innovations, each adding their own unique perspectives to the pool of knowledge. The result was an explosion of advancement that put the Council's rigid development path to shame. Our scientists estimate that combined technological progress across all liberated worlds has advanced more in the past week than in the previous 100 years, Kate explained. By working together, by combining different approaches and viewpoints, we're all growing stronger. The Phoenix's success had proven that progress didn't have to follow a single path. Each species brought their own strengths, their own ways of thinking, their own solutions to problems. When combined, these different approaches created something far more powerful than any one civilization could achieve alone. The Council requests readmission to the galactic community, the speaker said quietly. We offer our technology, our knowledge, everything we have, freely this time, without conditions or controls. Walker looked around the table, seeing the mix of anger and hope on the faces of the representatives. We don't want your technology, he said finally. We want your participation, real participation, as equals. Every species here has something valuable to contribute, including yours, but only if you're willing to learn as well as teach. The speaker's eyes widened in surprise. She had expected demands for reparations, for technology, for wealth. Instead, she was being offered a chance to be part of something new. To demonstrate our commitment, Walker continued, we're sharing the complete technical data from the Phoenix project. Not just the modifications, but the entire process of discovery, every failure, every success, every unexpected development. Let it be a template for how different approaches can work together. Kate brought up another display, this one showing the Phoenix's current status. The ship had become a testing ground for cooperative development, with engineering teams from different species working together to explore new possibilities. The Phoenix isn't just a ship anymore, Kate explained. It's become a proving ground for cooperation. Every species that studies it finds something new, something that others missed. And when we combine those discoveries, she gestured to a series of smaller displays showing new technologies being developed across the liberated worlds. Propulsion systems that combine Council energy technology with organic computing from another species. Defense systems that merged primitive kinetic weapons with advanced force fields. Medical technology that blended different approaches to healing. This is what happens when we work together, Walker said. Not as advanced and primitive, not as teachers and students, but as equals, each bringing our own strengths, our own perspectives. The speaker stood, her robes shifting color with the movement. The Council accepts these terms. We have much to learn about. Cooperation. As the meeting concluded, Walker returned to the Phoenix. The ship's corridors now hosted crews from a dozen different species, all working together, all learning from each other. What had started as a trap, as an attempt to control humanity, had become a symbol of liberation and cooperation. Hard to believe it all started with them, giving us their worst ship, Kate mused as they reached the bridge. Walker smiled, running his hand along a control panel that had reshaped itself to be comfortable for any species to use. Maybe that's the greatest lesson here. It's not about having the best tools. It's about how you use what you have. And sometimes, the worst gift can become the best opportunity. The Phoenix's systems hummed in agreement, its hybrid technology a testament to what could be achieved when different paths came together. In trying to keep humanity down, the Council had instead lifted up an entire galaxy. And this was just the beginning. In the observation deck, representatives from different species gathered to watch their home stars. Each one had a different story of liberation, a different path to this moment. But they all shared one thing: hope for a future where progress wasn't measured by how well you followed a prescribed path, but by how many new paths you could forge together.